Hey, Jim.
Hi, Steve. Wait, Steve Carlson? Steve Carlson from the vinyl community?
Yes,
Can I have your autograph?
of course.
And welcome once again to Two Guys Talking About Records, a vinyl community podcast. Each week, we two guys, including Mr. Steve Carlson there from the vinyl community,
Yes, yes.
we get together and we talk about records. My name is Jim, and I own a record store.
And I am Steve, a record collector.
Hey, Steve,
See?
you sound a little under the weather this week, man. I'm sorry.
Yeah, I'm just not doing as much singing as I used to. So we'll just keep it
Oh,
down.
I kind of heard that in your Sunday video from your early morning Sunday show today too. You were still, I mean,
Yeah,
hopefully on the upside of this.
I think I'm on the downside. It's gotten worse as the day
Uh,
goes, but it'll be all right. You know what? It's just one of those things. It could be a lot worse. So it's just a
yeah,
cold.
there you go. Just hang in, and you're getting some better weather. We're here in Michigan. We're in the throes of almost winter. We had some ice and everything this morning, making me slide around.
Yeah, and we're going to have maybe 60 this week, because we're by the mountains, which must be cold, except it's not here.
But you can see it, but it's just not there in your little. That's good, I guess, right? We're
Yes,
here
you
in
can look
Michigan.
up and look at all that snow and go, wow, look at all the snow up there.
Meanwhile, here in Michigan, we're just kind of flatlanders. We're getting it all, with the exception of a little
Yep.
north of us. So, well, cool. This week on the show, well, we had something come in, and I'll share this here in a second. But Steve and I are going to talk about autographed albums. And
Yeah.
does that make a difference to the value? Does that make a difference to the collector? Does it make a difference to you?
I think autographs are fun, but yeah, it's a really confusing area as
Yep.
far as is it real? Is it not real? How do you know? I know some people that collect thousands of autograph albums, and others, it just doesn't matter. So yeah, it'll be an interesting discussion.
Yep. And I think this goes a little beyond just records, too. It's pretty much autographed anything, which is what
Yes.
started this, an autographed photo. But we'll get to that here in a couple of moments. But, as this is the Vinyl Community Podcast, and one of the things that we like to do is show off the recent pickups and additions to the collection. You were really slim last week because of the vacation. I'm
Yeah.
going to be slim this week because of the busyness around the store. So, what do you have this week, Steve?
Well, I'm not going to show what I've read for the last few weeks. Can't. We'll give you a nice taste of it, though. This one just came in. It's Ballads of a Broken Sea, and this is from Isabel Campbell and Mark Langdon. So she was from Belle and Sebastian. He, of course, is from Screaming Trees and was it Stone Temple Pilots? Uh, I I love their albums when they were together. Of course, Langdon's dead now, but it's almost like Nancy Sinatra and Lee Hazelwood. He has that lower voice, she has that higher voice. It's just beautiful music that they make together. I have yet to find an album of theirs that I don't like. So I saw that was available and had to get that. Really great music. Brand new stuff. This was recommended by one of my subscribers, Bug. That's his channel, Bug, Bug. And it is high vis guided tour. This thing's just powerful. It really rocks. It's punk, but it's post punk. But they play so well. It just the music is just outstanding. It gets you excited, adrenaline pumping. They're talking about probs the UK. They're from London, but it's just kind of old school punk, but it's not. Really good post punk. Just yeah, this is great. It's my probably make one of my top albums of the year.
Very cool.
It's Christmas time. We got a Christopher Cross. This was on for Record Store Day. As I brought up on my early morning show today, I wish I'd gotten in CD because you can play it in more places. Now I just have my stereo in my room, can't share it. Christopher Cross has, to me, a terrific voice, and it's made for Christmas. His guitar playing is stellar, And so, he has a couple originals on here. Otherwise, he does, secular, but also the traditional Christmas tunes. And I just thought this was a gorgeous album on white vinyl.
Very cool.
So really, really nice. And then another one of my people that watch my channel recommended this. They go, "Did you know this was out there?" And it was Leap, I believe was the channel. And this is Dean Wareham, Britta, I think it's Jones, and Sonic Boom from Spaceman 3.
Oh
So
wow.
Dean and Britta have their own group. They're also in Luna. And then, of course, we have Sonic Boom from Spaceman 3. And so they put out this Christmas. And they've taken traditional songs, but they've made them their own. It's wonderful. It is, when you think of the Spaceman 3 with the synths and all
Yep.
that going on, and you have that in here, Dean and Britta again have this voice of Nancy Sinatra, Lee Hazelwood, that lower and the
Yep.
higher, and they meld together. They're married, this nice married couple, and they just it's this is a lot of fun. Again, wish I'd had it on CD to play it wherever I'm at for Christmas spirit, but I am so happy that this was pointed out because I hadn't heard about it. And Sonic Boom just adds in so much cool stuff on there. Fun,
You
fun
are you
album.
are seasonal this week.
I am. Well, then, of course, we're going to get away from the season, and I needed this Rammstein. And so this to me is their best album, but it wasn't available when I was buying them. Mutter. And now it is. And this has just a couple of their biggest hits on here. Um Links 234 is on there, Son Ich will. I am Mutter. Yeah, I have no idea what they're saying, but like the album they're in formaldehyde, this little kid's in formaldehyde, and then they have pictures of them all in formaldehyde in here. But yeah, good stuff. Good
Pushing the
stuff.
boundaries.
Yeah, it's all very Christmassy, and I got this because I used to have it on C. I thought, you know what? Everyone keeps saying this is the best Metallica album. So we'll find out. I bought it and I put it on. And I fell asleep. So I have to re-listen to it again. I was really tired.
You
you know,
were not riding the lightning.
I was not riding the lightning when I played it, but I have to give this, a good listen to see what I think about it. But yeah, I get it. It's one of those iconic albums everyone says, and I can't say I know a lot about Metallica. I mean, I like their Black album. I think that's phenomenal. And it's my favorite. But so I'm trying that. And since I bought Metallica, you want to kind of keep in that genre and, similar type music. So I bought Donna Summer's Greatest Hits. Fine. Yeah, keeping it real, man. Keeping it real. This just has the good stuff, man. I tell
It
you,
does.
all the good stuff. It's greatest. It's fine. There is some crap on here too. I just a lot of Don. Most of these are the radio edits. Her best stuff is the 12-inch. That's what you want. The
Yeah.
party, the dance, and it keeps going with the synthesizers and stuff. But it was just fun to have. I was happy to get this. And I mean, I like Donna Summer. That's my college years. Disco. Final one I'll show today. Kind of Beerboon. You can read it right there. It says right what it is. Out of Thailand, Surf Psych band out of Thailand. Kana Beerbood Monolam. And there's how the. This is just plain fun.
Huh.
There is psyche, there is that surf, but it's accessible music. You don't know what they're saying because it's all in Thai, but it's just it has a great groove to it. Really neat. This is off Guru Brain. It's the label from Kageki Moyo. And so one of my favorite Japanese bands that broke up, Kageki Moyo, but they have their own label still, and they're bringing out other things. And so I love the stuff that they put out, and this is no exception. This is just great stuff. Could possibly make my top list of the year too. I have
Wow.
just been totally enjoying this stuff. You can never, well, actually, you can have too much Thai music because sometimes the vocals are extremely grating. The voices on here are not like that, and it does have a good vocal sound. So there you go, Jim. Have fun with those samples.
Always a diverse selection. You're going to have to text me a couple of those so I can look for them for the playlist. Well, you make my job fun, Steve.
Yeah. But there's just so much great stuff out there. So he was like, oh my God. Yeah, you can go broke record collecting.
Big week for you. Not a big week on this end of things. I got a couple of things, but nothing that has been added officially. I'll explain that in a second. First up, the drama continues. We're going to go back to King Missile, okay? I said last week, we had that one, and it was actually fairly warped. And
Yeah.
I processed the return. It'll get approved, and I'll send that through. Lo and behold, there were a couple that were floating out there that I had on back order that showed up from a different supplier. So I don't know if it was stuff I probably put in before. So 2 copies came in. Guess what?
Oh,
It was warped.
how about quality control issues? I mean, what's the chances?
Well, and the thing is that this one, I opened one. I put one on the shelf here at the store, and I opened the other. And you can't really see it here. This one it's got an edge warp, but not nearly as bad as the one previous. But what happened was, as I went to remove it from the outer sleeve, the inner sleeve was adhered. It was stuck to the inside of the outer sleeve. I literally had to force it out. So I thought, okay, well, that was odd. And it's got a little bump on the edge. It's playable, so I'm not going to send it back. So then I got thinking, well, maybe I should open the other one. I had it priced and put it out on the shelf, but I thought if this one's bad and like that, I'll open the second one. I opened the second one, exact same thing. The inner sleeve was adhered to the bottom part of the outer sleeve and the inside of it. And I had to, put my hand in there and force it to break free. So now what I'm thinking happened is, and again, I don't know if you can see this on here, Steve. I'll try to zoom in on that. For those that are watching and not listening, you can actually see the creasing where it was adhered. So what I think happened is that these got put away hot. And it doesn't show any signs of melt on the actual vinyl itself. But for whatever reason, each of those inner sleeves, it adhered to the inner, and it damaged a little bit of the inner sleeve. It damaged the inside of the outer. And that would explain, if they did get put away hot, or at least warm, that could explain some of the edge warping.
Sure.
So I went on to Discogs and looked at the entry page for this, and there are people complaining about edge warps. Not a lot. They say it sounds great, and they're happy to have this on vinyl, but there was a couple of complaints on there about just quality control issues with this, which that would fall under.
Yeah.
So the one I had last week obviously has to be returned because my tone arm was doing the hop. It was doing the bunny hop on there. And it's kind of disappointing, but at least I've got a playable copy. The other thing that folks were amazed about with this album, the King Missile's Happy Hour, was that they, in this day and age, they were hooting about fitting 60 minutes worth of music onto a single LP.
Yeah.
And that could have had something to do with it as well, as far as the quality control. I don't know, but I mean, that's a lot of music, and I don't think they added anything extra on this one. I'd have to go back and look, but regardless, it's still going to be a problem, but at least I've got a good playable copy now.
Okay.
And I'll try to flatten it out. The only other thing of note this week, and this is not, I want to stress, this has not been added into the personal collection yet. Yet is the key word. Going to do this. It's a Gunfighter Ballads from Marty Robbins. Now, I've got a good mono original copy of this already in my collection. And you see this a lot nowadays. It's been reissued a lot also. But finding early and original copies in good condition is always difficult. It's kind of tough to do. This one is okay. It's not too bad. This is also one where I can't switch out stuff because there's all sorts of different plant codes like on the back corner. So you can't just swap out covers. In my opinion, people do, but you shouldn't. Here is why this has not been added in officially into the collection yet. And that is because it does not exist officially in Discogs yet. I found a copy that is a misprint copy that is not in Discogs. So it's a mono original Columbia 6i from Marty Robbins, and it's got the Deep Groove label on there. And the word ballads is misspelled on the label on both sides. So it constitutes as a misprint. Now, I found another misprint copy in Discogs, but it said that the word was only misspelled on the side A label and not the side B. So what'll happen now is I'll go through and I have to enter this into Discogs and look at the run out codes and make sure it doesn't exist elsewhere. But the misprints, I forget exactly what they were, but they were going close to triple digits in some cases for the misprint mono copy on there. So now I've got one that doesn't exist anywhere else in Discogs. That could be a fun thing to have.
And it's a double misprint. The other one was going triple digits, just one misprint.
So you want to double that down?
Double the value.
It's a cool album, and like I said, I've got a decent copy, but for my collection purposes, I'll keep the misprint copy, and we'll put the other one back out. Farm that one out and about. So that's it on that side. But that will be an ad, and I'll let you know exactly when I get that entered in and when it's officially added into the collection. How's that sound?
Yeah. Very neat.
And as always, dear viewers and listeners, we will attempt, and I say attempt because Steve's made it tough this week, to create a Spotify playlist to give you guys audio samples of some of the things that we brought in and some of the things that we'll talk about today as well. So you can listen in as well at your leisure without us getting a copyright strike from anywhere at the same time. I also should mention, too, because I use my Spotify creators account to also create those playlists, my Spotify Wrapped, Steve, the year-end look back, It's a mess. It is all over the place. I don't know what to think of it. So I'll have to decide how to make my Spotify Wrapped look a little more realistic for my listening purposes. But and then speaking of Wrapped, we're probably going to have to wrap up our year at some point in the next week or two with our favorites of everything, aren't we?
Yeah. I've been working hard on mine. It's just taking. I have a lot of new. I mean, this is probably more new albums than I've bought in years. There's so much great stuff that came out this year.
And I think I'm going to have some trouble getting together my best of list, but we'll see. We'll talk about how to do that. And we're running out of December to do it, so I'm getting a little worried there. So onward to the subject at hand today, and before we get to talking about autographed albums or autographs in particular, I want to share with you folks the thing that kind of prompted this and this discussion for Steve and I. So this week, I am plugging away here in the store, and the post office comes in, our mail carrier comes in with something that I had to, they couldn't put it in the post office box for whatever reason outside, and they hand delivered it inside. I thought, okay, well, I'm not really expecting anything. Then I got looking at this closer, and I thought, well, this album or this envelope says it's from Richard Cheese and in Lounge Against the Machine. I thought, okay, that's bizarre. I don't remember ordering anything from Richard Cheese, but as you remember, a few weeks back, I got that copy of Richard Cheese and his Lounge Against the Machine, which I added to the collection, and you were thinking about it. It's a fun record. It's just different. Lo and behold, inside the envelope was some cool stuff. So obviously it's the Richard Cheese management had sent this to me. I got kind of a little postcard with their discography that's available at richardcheese.com. They sent me some stickers from some of their covers. Very neat one there. And, the Lounge Against the Machine, which I did get. And the previous Richard Cheese Lounge Against the Machine, the Pink Floyd stuff. Yeah. Another sticker from there. But what was coolest in this was an autographed picture of Richard from one of Richard Cheese's albums. And this is the Numbers of the Beast, and it says, right on there, it says Radio Wasteland. Thanks, RC, for Richard Cheese. And I thought, well, that's pretty cool, but how and why did they find? I mean, I ordered the albums through our distributor, so theoretically they could have contacted the management, could have talked to the distributor and say, okay, who did you guys send these out to? We want to send them some thank you notes. More, the other side of me is thinking, is like, what if he's watching our podcast and saw us,
Well,
us
that's
talking about that?
exactly this, Jim. I mean, we've gone big. We're worldwide. So yes.
And the only other thing about that is that it says, the envelope says Radio Wasteland attention Jim on there. I'm like, all right, okay, they theoretically could have gone through the distributor, but Mr. Cheese, if you're watching, thank you. I'm actually gonna send. I'll send their management a little note thanking them for it and say, so how in the heck did you guys? What prompted this? And you want to come on the podcast?
There we go. Is that?
So that got me thinking. I talked to Steve. I said autographs are an interesting thing, especially when you adhere them to the front or back or somewhere in a record album. Autographed albums are coveted by many collectors, and others are just like, whatever. I don't really know where I fall on that list. I've got several autographed albums, and we'll go through these here in a little bit. But as a collector, Steve, I don't think that that I seek them out tremendously, and I don't think that, personally speaking, I don't really adhere an extra amount of value to an album simply because it's autographed. Now, the pictures, they're one thing, they're cool, but I don't know. Albums are a different animal for me.
I got a friend in the vinyl community. He's down in Detroit. His name's Martin Jones. He goes to every kind of punk concert there is, and he always brings in a stack of records that he has to have them sign. And he has so many signatures. It's what really excites him, and to have them sign all these things. Now, a lot of groups you'll never hear of, they're just obscure punk bands, but he gets some bigger ones too. But he's very much a autograph seeker because for him in his collection, that's important and brings him a lot of pleasure. I don't go to a ton of concerts. I have some, and I have some autographs from those concerts. I don't seek them out, but I've bought them. That Rationale album. That it had all the members of the Rationale had signed that. Lost in the Flood, but that was neat, and I probably paid more for that, I would think.
You did before I really kind of knew where we were going with stuff.
Yeah,
but that was a tough loss too.
Yeah, but I guess there's the historic aspects of it, but then you can look at it and go, well, is that real or not real?
And that's always going to be the question is, how do you verify this? And over the years, I've had a lot of people bring in autographed albums to the store, and they say, well, this is worth a ton more because it's autographed. I'm like, okay, but what kind of proof do you have? And yes, you can get certificates of authenticity, but in this day and age, even those could be faked. I am tremendously distrustful of just about anything, and that's simply because when preparing for this, I went to one of the AI things that I use, and I asked it to recreate Mick Jagger's autograph, and it did. It wasn't close when I compared it to other images online, but was it close enough to, say, pass off to somebody who's not paying attention? Yes.
Yeah.
And I'm a moderate Photoshop user. I don't Photoshop per se, but I'm trained in Photoshop. So how tough is it to make a certificate of authenticity? Okay, well, how tough is it to fake a stamp of a notary public? We're getting too deep here. It's like, okay, here's the autograph. Here's the authenticity certificate. Here's a stamp from a notary public saying that it is. Who the heck is going to check all that down the line when you're thinking about buying something that's autographed? You're not.
Yeah. Well, how do you even get a certificate of authenticity? I mean, so I have an autograph record. Oh boy, how do you even go about doing that?
That I think would come more from like auction houses or autograph houses, places that deal specifically in autographed items. We can get into everything from photographs to baseball cards to just about anything that can be autographed. That would come from some sort of, well, obviously a certified outside source that says we can vouch for this being real. But again, if you're a collector and you're hyped up because your favorite band, you see an autographed album on a shelf in front of you, are you really going to dig that deep to check its authenticity?
Yeah, there's a guy, someone that I follow on VC. He follows me. His name's Henry, and he's up in Northwest. He's a big card collector, and he mails these cards to everybody, to all the baseball people. He has astronaut cards. He mails them to the
Wow.
astronauts and to get them signed. And sometimes they sign them. Sometimes they just send them back. I guess sometimes they probably never sees them again. But he is such an autograph hound, and I mean, just tons, thousands of
Wow.
autographs. But that's his enjoyment,
Yep.
is to have people. And I have a whole set of these cards, every one of them signed, and he knows who does sign, who doesn't sign. It's really interesting. Records are a little bit harder, because are you going to mail your record out? Hey, would you mind signing this? You kind of have to, like I mentioned, Martin Jones, go to the concerts with
Yep.
them, and then hopefully, if they're a big name, what's your chance of getting them to sign?
Yeah.
Probably not.
Yep. The idea though that these are coveted sometimes escapes me, and I want to be kind of careful talking about this because we do have some autographs, and there's a couple that I sought out specifically. But I am not, I'm personally speaking, I don't really fall into the whole idea of worship of celebrity. And I'm not saying celebrities, because
Yeah.
there are some people that I admire. There's some people that I respect for their artistic talent or their contributions to music or whatever the case. Individually, I think that there are some people that I respect and admire. But the whole idea of celebrity worship sometimes escapes me. And I'm like, I don't quite get it that this person's signature means that much to someone to buy and sell and trade with. That, again, maybe that's just me, but I do enjoy the autographed albums I have. But they tend to be more meaningful to me personally than they are just, I've got this famous person to sign this.
Yeah. I would agree with that. The one, when I've been to concerts, they have signed. It's really cool. That's neat. Hey, they signed this, but yeah, it's cool to be.
Yeah.
But
And that's
probably,
what I'm saying. The back end of this, if you go to sell them to a store or bring them into the store, and again, I've had people bring in autographed, heavy hitter albums that are autographed, like an Iron Maiden or something like that. And I'm like, I can't give you what you think that this is worth simply because there's absolutely no way for me to verify. I mean, I can call the signature up online, I can look at the signature and say that it looks like that. But again, that could be faked so tremendously easily that it's just not worthwhile. And then from the retail side of this, I can also say that autographed items here in our store, at least, maybe others do, but autographed items, people just don't seem to care if it's not something specific to them,
yeah.
specifically for them.
I think with me, with some of my autographed albums, I have to sell it to someone named Steve, because hey, I'm Frank, but it says Steve on that, autograph to Steve. Oh yeah. So, but if I
I've got
can
a
find
couple of those
another
we'll talk
Steve,
about too. So,
I'll be good to go, man.
if just I had a record in the collectibles, and I don't even remember who it was from. It was just, and I put it in the collectibles simply because that's the only place people would see it if it hit the main shelf. And it was some '60s lounge band, and the front of the album said "To Barb," and I put on my note on there, it said autographed, and I said personally autographed if your name is Barb. So there you go. But somebody paid $5 for it, but that's just about it. So.
Yeah.
And it's cool to have, like I said, when you go through there. But the idea that you're proving that, well, let me back up a bit. I did want to touch on this, the idea of personalizing the autographs. Let's cut to that first. If you are selling an album that you have, Steve, or you're trading it in, and it's to Steve, that I do believe is going to be worth tremendously less to someone else not named Steve. You were joking about that, but I think
Yeah.
that that's a reality.
I agree. Absolutely.
And if you go to, and I've not done this, but if you go to like a Comic-Con or any kind of convention or someplace where there are celebrities gathered that sell their autographs or pictures with them, you know, you go to the cons and it's a couple $100 to meet somebody and have them sign a picture for you. I've seen it where if you ask for a personalized autograph, i.e., can you sign this to Jim, that they will charge less for that than they will just the generic, here's my famous signature. Because they expect that you're going to turn that around and sell it directly on eBay. You know, the joke is you go to see some famous person, hey, would you sign my picture? Please make it out to eBay buyer number, whatever, whatever.
Yeah.
So I mean that's a thing where if it's personalized, it means more to you personally, obviously, but less to the aftermarket.
Yeah. I used to go to a lot of IndyCar races back in the 90s, and I would get a lot of, Mario Andretti and AJ Foyt, so all these big name drivers, but it was always cool, again, not thinking about it. Could you make that to Steve? That's me. And then with Kmart, when we'd have our big meetings back when they had money, they'd bring in the celebrities and be lined up to have like Jacqueline Smith signing your stuff and that. But uh, I think some of them actually survived the flood. They must have been upstairs or something, because I do have a few of them still
You got
around.
Jacqueline Smith's autograph. Wow.
I do have Jacqueline Smith's autograph.
Well, let's go through some of our collectibles and tell some stories behind them. Now, some of these, and I would imagine those that are bringing in autographs for me to look at can vouch for them. And some people I'll say I believe your story, and I believe that that's real, but still, but I have stories for several of my autographs and how they came about. Let me start off with one of the biggies, and I don't know if it's controversial or not nowadays, but Ted Nugent and the
Yeah.
Amboy Dukes. And this is one of the original Journey to the Center of the Mind albums. And I had Mr. Nugent autograph this in 1992 when I was working for a television station up in the UP. He came up there for a Damn Yankees concert. I had the opportunity for the TV station to interview him about a bunch of other things, music and the outdoors and the like. And at the end of the interview, I popped out my album. He goes, "Wow, I haven't seen one of those in ages." I said, "Would you mind signing that?" And he just happened to sign Ted Nugent 92 on there, not a 2 Jim or anything. Now, this one, again, I can vouch for. I do have video of this somewhere of he and I sitting together doing the interview. Normally, I have this kind of framed up behind me, but I pulled it down for us to talk about today. And that's one of those things that I think that's kind of cool at the time. It was Ted playing with those. Now, I also attempted at that same time I interviewed Tommy Shaw, but I interviewed him like an hour or two later down at the arena where they were playing in Marquette. And I had a Styx album with me, much in the way that Ted actually came to the television station to talk to me and talk to somebody else there. So I had to go somewhere else for Tommy Shaw. And after talking with him for 10 or 15 minutes, I didn't even bother bringing the album out because he was just so off-putting, is the best way to put it. The A with the hole on the back of it is another way to put it. At that point, it's like, you know what? I don't even really care. I'll put you in my story, in my interview, but I don't really need your signature because you're kind of a jerk. So
Okay.
I've heard otherwise. People, oh, Tommy Shaw is great. So, well, that may be true, but he wasn't when I met him in '92.
Yeah. Yeah. Wow. I I'll bring out my first one. This is from Michael Moeller. But now this is one where it was personalized. Now he does neoclassical music. He's a guitarist. Bell Murray is his main group, but he's done solo work. A guy that I know through the VC channel, and so I've gotten to know him. And he was going to send me one of these, but I saw it was coming out, and I'd already pre-ordered it right away. And I dropped him a line or something. He goes, "Oh, I was going to send you one." I says, "Well, do this then. Autograph it for me. The one that I bought, and send me an autographed copy." Which he did. And so, these are neat. He sent me his music before, quite a bit of it. He doesn't really do much videos anymore, but he travels around the world playing with his group Bel Moray, and also, solo. So it means a lot to me. But again, it's all written on here. Thanks for your support and your discerning ear. Keep spinning, your friend Michael. And so it's personal, so that means a lot.
Yeah, and I think you probably have one of these as well. If I were to pull them out here, Michael Christensen, our friend Michael from
Yeah,
down in the Detroit area. Oops, I kicked the wrong one up there. This is his album, The Middle Kingdom Years, and he had autographed the back on there. And again, that's kind of a personalized one, is there to Jim, and thanks for everything. And again, this is somebody we know, and I'm happy to support a musician, especially a local one, and especially somebody as cool as Michael. It's cool to
yeah.
have. And again, this is something that I love to have in my collection because it is something personal. It means something.
It is. It is. You've met him, you've talked with him, and someone you have a ton of respect for,
Yeah.
and just it does. You look at that and go, yeah, that's really cool. I had this one, and this was just a recent. I got this year. It's a Blushing. It's a group I really. This could be my top album of the year, by the way. Kind of a shoegazy type group, and so I really, I was at their concert, so there they are. They're selling, and I decided, hey, I'll pick that up. And then my son goes, hey, did you get an autograph? He goes, no. I go, oh, Dad, you got to get an autograph. I went back there. They were very nice, signed, sealed, and delivered. And then the two ladies of the group both signed it. So didn't have my name on there or anything, just some little extra doodles and stuff. So I was really happy. Really nice group that I truly like.
One of the other ones in my collection, and I guess it could be viewed as a larger collectible in through here. And we got this back, I think, in 2019. And this is a Greta Van Fleet album, and it's tough to see the signatures on here. But this is Greta Van Fleet's double EP from the Fires, signed by all four of the band members. Now, again, I can absolutely personally vouch for this one, whether folks want to believe it or not there. But back in 2019, when this was going to be a record store day release, the management of Greta Van Fleet contacted me here at our store saying that the band, and especially Josh, the lead singer, wanted to thank us for supporting the band. Can we send you a whole bunch of autographed albums for you guys to? You can sell them just regular albums. Don't mark them up, obviously. And we were very happy to do that. We had a great line out there. I kept one, obviously. But the cool thing with this is, and I talk about this to folks in the store once in a while, but I can vouch for this because I've got the email correspondence with the management saying that they want to sign them. But way back in another lifetime, in my college professor days, Josh, the lead singer from Greta Van Fleet, was a student of mine, and so they were also kind of saying that he's saying thank you for that and supporting early, and thank you for supporting them with your store, and here's some autographed albums. So again, that's kind of a cool story. Now that they're really rich and famous, I doubt I could get them to come to the store, but you never know.
Hey, by the way,
By the way, you guys want to do just next time you're in town in Frankenmuth, come by.
uh, I had this. A friend of mine in Denmark went to a concert, and there was a group that a few years back I had said they had the best album of the year in my list, and it was Uflorenzen. I mean, it's the name of the guy himself. And so he went to this concert, to Uflorenzen's concert, and he signed these albums to Steve. Now, this is his group, Lutsut, which I showed the newest suit a few weeks ago on my early morning show, and then of course he had a autograph version. So again, here the band signed the thing, and this one is just one of his solo albums. And I mean, I really like Baby Wood Rose is what he's known best for, his psychedelic band out of the early aughts. And this was neat when my friend Jacob out of Denmark sent these to me. I mean, I was blown away to get two autographed copies from them. Will they be worth anything? It doesn't matter, just a guy I like that actually reached out and thanked me on my comments in the video for putting his album, as the best album of the year. So really cool when that happens from a musician.
It is, and that's the way I feel about a couple of these. One of the things I've noticed, by the way, Steve, in going through these, is that the majority of my autographed albums seem to be from Michigan artists. Maybe
Sure.
that's that local connection, the fact that we get to know some of them through here, like Michael, for example. But several years back, when we'd done some record shows, the store we organized them. Bobby Balderrama from the Mysterians, question mark in the Mysterians, wrong way up punch there, and he did a record show, and I got to meet him and get to know him a little bit. But again, this is another personalized one, and Frank's on there too, signed as well. But yeah, Bobby put on there, to Jim, thank you. Again, that's the local folks you meet, and you get their support.
Yeah.
And these guys were big, but the other Michigan ones that pop up in my collection, we talked about this a little while ago. The recently released Mark Farner album. Now I bought this off of his website, so it came pre-signed. They were advertising, signed ones on there, and I did do that interview with Mark, and I mentioned that we were getting it, but I didn't get a personalized one because I already got one coming from their website.
Sure.
And then one of
I
the other
see.
oddball ones, you want to mix that up with Mark Farner and the question mark and the Mysterians. We get Tesco V from the Meatmen down in the Lansing area. We're the Meatmen, and you suck, and it's a two Jim. Now this one came about because of a mutual friend who went down to one of the record shows that Tesco V organizes in the Lansing area. He's got a record and I think like a collectible toy shop down in that area. So he's a very accessible individual. And this mutual friend went down to his show and said, "Hey, I'm going to get one of these albums for my friend up in Midland who owns a record store. His name's Jim. Would you sign that for him?" So
Yeah.
got that. If you're punk fans, if you're a Meatmen fan, Tesco V and you suck.
Up in Grayling, Michigan, they have a record store, and it's owned by a guy that has a band, his own
Yeah.
punk band.
Yep.
And I have his autographed albums, but I couldn't think of the name of the group right offhand. But
Oh, yep.
he
That's
signed them.
Rotten Princess Records, right?
Yes, Red Princess. So, but yeah, it was really cool. I went in there and met him. Very nice guy. Signed the albums. So that was really neat. This was a concert that came to Midland. Steve Martin and Edie Brickell.
Oh yeah.
So there's what they really look like, and yeah. So I'm a huge Steve Martin fan. Edie Brickell's okay. We just talked about her the last couple of weeks.
Yep.
So with her album "Shooting Rubber Bands," but uh, yeah, there it was. Now this is a case where it's in the lobby. And it was pre-signed, so it wasn't like I got to touch them or something like that and go, wow, which Steve Martin then I would have got all excited about because that guy's great. But yeah, nice autograph. Again, a nice memory from that show.
I think the smaller venues like that, where they do set up a table at least to meet with folks, is probably one of the better bets of getting an autographed item. That you
Yeah,
mentioned the big concerts, you got to pay one of those VIP access things. You're paying several $100s for, and you get in and go from there. So yeah, I get it.
yeah. I had now if this survived the flood, the cover, Buddy Guy, and went down to his club in Chicago by accident. I mean, not by accident, but didn't know he was even playing and get in there, and he's playing. And so, it's our Christmas time, and it was just great. So then, he finishes up. I head over to his merch table and began buying some of his albums. And then he comes over and he goes, "Let me sign those for you." And so he signed like 3 albums and I had posters signed. And he was just so nice, so accommodating. I got his picture on my back wall too, me and Buddy Guy together, which was really cool. But so it was kind of tragic that I lost all these Buddy Guy autographs. There's a
Yep.
great bluesman, but this one I was able to at least kind of, survive the flood. But let's just say he's not in the best shape. But by God, that's his signature.
There you go.
And yeah, I was excited.
The
That that,
res-
that, that was, that was a great night.
you're saying the resale value on that is not quite what you'd hope.
Probably not.
But I do remember that story. You telling the story about meeting him, and that's cool. So I've got one other a legit personalized one that I picked up, and this is another one that means a lot. Our friend Brett Mitchell, he is a
Yeah.
an artist who's played here at the store several times. He's originally from the Midland, Michigan area, and he is now kind of relocated up into the northern Michigan area, up and through there. And his album he put out a couple of years back for the most part, and they sent me a test pressing of that. I think we've talked about test pressings before. One of the few test pressings that I've got in my collection, and on the very back, Brett had autographed that, and that's just kind of cool. But again, thanking me for the support of him through the year. I've known Brett a long time, predating the record store era type of stuff. So it's one of those ones that's kind of neat to have in hand as well.
Yeah. The final one I have, this is from the group First Boy on the Moon.
Yeah. Oh
That
yeah.
I just, again, this was one that it got my favorite record of the year. Not even knowing, who or ever, but uh, I got to know, the main man, David Pedroza. And so the autographs come in a variety of notes in that he sent me. So it's not written on the album itself, but we have these different notes in here that I got three different notes that he signed and thanking me and talking. So this is very neat. And yeah, he put out another album this year that's one of my favorites, and yeah, it was someone that I supported through the VC, and actually sent out a number of these albums. Did I send you one of these?
I did. Yes, I did get one of those from you. It's very
Yeah,
cool.
exactly. So
Very cool
uh,
stuff.
yeah, very nice.
Now the other side of this, and this is going to be the record store owner side of me slash collector, is that you will run across autographs that may not be worth. I've already talked about how people will bring stuff in from big bands and big names
Yeah.
trying to sell or trade, and I can say that's cool, but it really is not going to be worth more than this album is worth. Maybe a little bit extra for the autographed on there, but not much in the grand scheme of things. The other side of this, though, is that there are other albums from not so big names that come into the store that are autographed, and some of them are very cool. Some of them I'll keep. This is a great example of this. I think I've talked about this before. This is a an album from an artist named and I pressed the wrong button again. I'm still getting used to our new system here, Steve. Uh, Father Tom Vaughn. He's a jazz pianist and artist who was, for a time, he lived in Midland. He was at one of the churches here in Midland and in the Detroit area. This is his Motor City Sound album from, I'll have to look up the year on this. I think it's around 1966 or 67. So I can probably guarantee at that age of 2 or 3 that I did not go to this concert to get an autograph, but I did find one that says, "To Jim, very best, Father Vaughn." So very
Wow.
best wishes. So this is one of those ones that is personalized. I just happened to find a "To Jim," and it just so happens that I enjoy this piano jazz music from Father Vaughn. So that
Well,
was kind of a
see,
cool addition.
yeah, my one's with Steve. I just have to find that Steve, and
There
I'll
you
be
go.
good to go.
And you're good to go. Now, a few other ones that I've kept over the years, Michigan related, of course. Here's one from the Frost. Now, Dick Wagner was a very accessible artist out of the Saginaw. Passed away a few years ago, so not entirely uncommon. But this is made out to the inner sleeve is autographed on here. It's to Randy and Mary, signed Dick
Ah,
Wagner from the Frost. That's kind of a cool one to kind of have in through here. And then others that have just come through over the years that I'm not even quite certain about. These are Michigan bands. Here's one called 13 Engines. These guys are kind of an alt rock, jangle pop group from the Detroit area, I believe. And that one's all autographed on the front. Again, I don't think we can see it that easily, but it's neat to have that. I enjoy the music. It's not a go-to. Here is one from a group called Chance, and I'm still working. I've had this a year or two now, and I'm going to take my note off of it. I'm still kind of trying to figure out what to do with this because I don't believe that this one exists in Discogs. These guys are an 80s rock band from Detroit called Chance, and then the back end of this, it's very cool because they're in a record store, and I did do some research as to what record store this is, and I can't recall offhand. man where this is, but this is a record store on the back, and it's autographed by the band on the back as well. East Lansing, Michigan is where they're, I know the photographer's from. So I'll have to do some more research. I've had this for a little bit. But again, it's one of those groups that didn't really do too much. But for some reason, the album seems worth a little bit when you kick it on there. And then a couple of other ones. These are just fun ones through here. Fat Bob, the Singing Plumber.
Yeah.
He is from the Detroit area, notable because he would sing, I believe, at Red Wings and Tiger games. Very known, well-known Detroit radio personality as well. I think I mentioned this, but this is autographed. Best to you, Larry, Fat Bob, the Singing Plumber. So I have an Uncle Larry. Maybe I'll send this to him and see.
So do I. Yeah.
And then finally, speaking of Frankenmuth, here is the original, the OG rock star from Frankenmuth, Marv Herzog, the polka artist extreme. Best wishes, Marv Herzog is the autograph on the top of that. Now, again, I can't verify that any of these are legit, but quite frankly, who would go out of their way to counterfeit a Marv Herzog or a Fat Bob autograph? Why would you do that? I don't think you would.
Exactly. Well, I'm sure those are worth quite a bit. And probably after the show, someone's going to get excited and want to get a hold of you to say, I really want that.
Oh, you're going to have to wrestle that Fat Bob out of my fingers, I think.
Okay.
You have to wrestle the Fat Bob out of my fat fingers.
Yeah.
Actually, a couple of other, I put these aside and I forgot to mention, this is other stuff that has come in over the years with albums. And I'll just set it aside and we'll frame these and put them up in the store here. Here is, would you like an autographed Paul Anka picture, Steve? It's a hi Angie, all the best and take care, Paul Anka, 1989. So
good for Angie, man.
It popped in a record, and there's been a few other things too, little
That's
cards
neat.
and stuff autographed through here.
Yeah.
One final one, and I forgot about this completely. The folks that I work with from Rushfest Scotland a couple times a year when they put out their fundraising albums for cancer research with all of the Rush tribute bands. The last one of these that came out, I keep and collect the prints that my friend Steve Brown puts out with these albums. So I've got several. I've got one framed back here from the first one of those of Neil Peart. The last one of these, as a thank you for me helping out with the dissemination of the U.S. albums, he sent me an autographed print of the cover from the Neil Peart tributes. This one is autographed down on the bottom here by Hugh Syme, who was the longtime graphic artist and album cover designer for Rush. He's been doing a few of their last tribute album covers, and they put these signed copies out to raise extra money for the cancer research, and he sent me an extra one. He says, that's for you for helping. And I said, that's very cool. Thank you very much for that.
Yeah, that's nice.
But again, those are the autographs that tend to mean something because it comes from a personal relationship that you have with an artist who, for what reason or another, wants to say thank you to you or thank you for your support for this. And as I said before, I think those are the ones that tend to mean a lot more.
Yeah, value wise, not going to make a big difference. I have a few others in my collection from bands where one of the people are in the vinyl community, so I've gotten to know them. And when they put something out, they'll give me an autographed copy. I ask for it, and I like it a lot. I think it's great. The grand scheme of things, not a big deal, but they're not charging me extra either. So it's just you feel good about it.
You feel good. And that goes back to what I said too earlier. I like those kind of autographs in my collection, that kind of stuff in there too. I don't know as if I would pay a large amount of extra money at a concert to meet somebody one-on-one. I don't know as if I would pay at a convention to have my picture taken with someone or just to get an autograph with someone. That's just me. Folks, you mentioned earlier, there are folks that really dig that kind of stuff. And that's great. Do what you do and do what makes you feel good about this. I'm happy running across stuff occasionally, and I'm happy that I'll go back to that Richard Cheese again. This to me, this is very cool. I'm going to get this framed and we're going to put it up on the wall here. I dig Richard Cheese and I like his stuff. And I just think it's kind of cool that they took the time to say thank you for carrying our
Yeah.
stuff in your store.
Yeah, exactly. That is nice. Nice surprise. And
Yeah,
you know,
indeed.
I'll find them at cons. You know, when I go to concert, if I can get something autographed, it's nice. Hey, I was there. There it is. But you know, though, wouldn't an Ozzy Osbourne album, you know, have an autograph album of his? You would think that would be something.
It would be, especially, yeah, it would be. Maybe signed in bat blood or something.
Yeah, there we go.
And each to the beholder in that. So, what do you folks think? I mean, where do you stand on the idea of seeking out autographs? Are you happy when you get them? Do you actively say, I'm going to go to these, I'm going to pay more, I want to have this in my collection? And this dovetails to our discussion before. What happens to these when you no longer want them in your collection? Is it going to be the investment you thought it was, or not? Is it too personalized to make that? Curious to see what you guys think about everything.
Yeah, exactly. To me, I just, hey, if makes you feel happy, get them, but just don't expect a lot.
And I should probably end this today, Steve, on the note saying that if you would like a autographed copy of anything that Steve and I do here, we'll be happy to. No, and it will only cost you. I'm kidding. It will not.
Yeah.
I've
We'll be
never.
in our merch store.
There we go. Do we have a merch store? No. I don't think
No.
so.
But if we did, yeah, you could.
Hey, truthfully, we barely have a podcast every week this time of year. So we'll get to where we go. But yeah, let us know. Head over to the Facebook page, Two Guys Talking About Records, or leave a comment on the Spotify. We did get a couple Spotify comments I need to forward to you.
Did we?
And the comments on the YouTube channel, more than anything. We get some I understand, some I don't. We'll go from there.
That would be Peter.
Okay. But you're doing a good job keeping up on those, especially this time of year where things are getting a little crazy for me. So, but as always, Steve, it's good talking with you. I'm sorry you're a little gravelly this week, but we'll get that taken care of hopefully.
Yeah, it should be okay. By next Sunday, we'll be back ready to roll, man.
And we need to think of something to talk about by then. Maybe the Christmas albums by that time. I'll be ready.
There we go.
All right. Well, you folks have a great week. As always, thank you for watching and listening to Two Guys Talking About Records. My name is Jim, and I own a record store.
And I'm Steve, a record collector.
You have a great week, Steve. Feel better, please.
You too, Jim. Bye, everyone.